Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. To the Most High Yah Elohim be the glory and adoration. Father, I bless your holy name. Father, I worship you, for you alone deserve the glory and honor. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shalom, shalom. I want to welcome everyone to the West Africa Hebrew Israelites, the hidden identity. Thank you so much for joining today's teachings. I know your life will never be the same. I'm so happy and I'm so excited for today's teachings. Maybe today is the first time that you came across our teachings or the channel. We are the West African Hebrew Israelites, the hidden identity. Mosiah Yah Elohim have given us a message to share, to identify or to reveal who we are. And we are spread abroad, four corners of the planet Earth. We, being our forefathers and our foremothers, are those people who they took through the Atlantic slave trade. So we are spread abroad, and this to me is a big revelation. And if you subscribe to this channel, trust me, you won't get bored. You each and every time that will be blessed with a message, you will be excited. It will be wow, and it will blow your mind. So please subscribe to this channel, and please share the message of the awakening remnant. Share the message of the revealing message. Share the message of the Yah calling his people. Share the message of God, the gathering of the Most High people. Please share. And to our old subscribers, share. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you that you are sharing the message. You are encouraging others to subscribe to the channel. And to our new subscribers, I say Toda Rabbah. Thank you very much. Thank you. So without much ado, let's go straight to today's teachings. But before then, I tend to forget quick. Don't mind me. Before then, we'll read one of the covenants. We are the chosen people. We are the awakening remnant, and we are the people that the Most High have a covenant with us. Yahweh have a covenant with us. So each and every time that we have an opportunity to come and share his message or deliver his message to his people, then we have to remind ourselves to read one of the covenants that he have for us. Remember, many covenants that Most High Yah Elohim have with his people, that covenant. So today our covenants will quickly, you can take your Bible to Torah or the Tanakh and open to the book of Second Chronicles chapter 7:14. Second Chronicles chapter 7 verse 14. Said the covenant of the Lord Yahweh. And I read, God Elohim will hear if Israel repent. That will be the head. God Elohim, he will hear if Israel repent. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and will heal their land. That's the saying of the Most High Yah Elohim. These are the one of the covenants, many of them one choosing that he have for us. So if we hear the voice, we humble ourselves and repent and seek his face, he will hear from the heaven. We have to hear, have a listening, hearing, and that will help us. Today's message is we'll talk about the narrow path, narrow way or narrow gate. But the key point is Yeshua says something. He said he came. That will be the book of Matthew chapter 15, 24. Matthew chapter 15 or Matthew chapter 15 verse 24. And Yeshua said clearly, he said, but he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lordship of the house of Israel. So certain messages, when we deliver the message, we have to take the content, like have the understanding why this message is like this. And one would be wrong that every is in the Bible is only for the Israelites. The message is delivered to the Israelites, but anyone that hears it and be the doer of the word, that word, the blessing of the Most High will be on their portion, whether they are Gentiles or they are what? They are Hebrews, being the children of Israel or being the children of Jacob, the blessing that follows will come to that person life. So this message is solely for the Hebrews or the Israelites. But anyone that come across it and hear and believe it, then the blessing will be in your portion. So we'll divide it into 2 or 3 groups and give the understanding. The reason why this message will start from the book of Matthew chapter 7 and read then like 14 going on 13 and 14. But we'll start from the Matthew 15, then we'll go back to the Matthew chapter 5. The reason why is like for us to see the clear picture, I said we group into 3. So the first part will be in Matthew chapter 15, then the second part will be Matthew chapter 5, then the third part will be based on the actual message we're about to share. That will be Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 to 14. The reason why we are starting from the 15, Matthew chapter 15, is Yeshua have encounter with a unique person, being a Canaanite woman, So let's read it. Matthew chapter 15, verse 21. We'll read 21 up to the 28.
And departed into the coasts of Tyre and Sidon. 22. And, behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coasts, and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David, my daughter is grievously vexed with a devil. 23. But he answered her not a word, and his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she crieth after us. 24. But he answered and said, Font color equals BF 360C. I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Font. 25. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. 26. But he answered and said, Font color equals BF 360C. It is not meet to take the children's bread, and to cast it to dogs. Font. 27. And she said, Truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. 28. Then Jesus answered and said unto her, Font color equals BF 360C. O woman, great is thy faith, be it unto thee even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. Font.
As we read, yes, we have the new app reading it fast. That way it will speed up the teachings without prolong the message. So Matthew chapter 15, verse 21 up to 28, as we read. And I will start from 21 again. Say, then Yeshua went thence and depart into the coast of Tyre and said. 22. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of them the same coast, and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, the son of David. My daughter is vexed was in a devil, like she is full of devil. And then 23 say, but he answered her not a word, and his disciple came and buzzing him, saying, Send her away, for she cried after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lordship of the house of Israel. So Yeshua here simply means, or he's saying means, Yahweh sent him only unto the lordship of the house of Israel, or house of Jacob, or the children of Jacob. So the message is for us. The message is for the children of Israel. But the 28, as Yeshua, the woman of Canaan, or the Canaanite woman, pursue, like pushing herself, begging, pleading, then the message of Yeshua came upon her. He said, you go ye, you woman, your faith has made whole, or your faith has like how you, oh woman, great is their faith. Like your faith is great, so you receive the blessing. That means your child will be whole. So again, you realize that this woman is not a Hebrew. She is not Israelite or descendant of Jacob, but she has the faith, or the healing came to her house. So that will be the first part. So that is the reason why I say we have the 3 groups of this message. we have the first picture on the screen right now showing, I said the message will be the narrow path or the narrow way and broad path or broad way. So we have the picture. You can see on the top, we have the sign say narrow path. That show the arrow is showing on the right side, and the left arrow is a broad path. So on the bottom, you can see the broad path on the left, then the narrow path or the narrow way is on the right on the screen right now. The reason why we need to know the difference between the narrow and the wide or the broad. A lot of people, or like a lot of us, if we have to explain the narrow path, we tend to think, oh, it's like even narrow path mean it will be drivable, like the car can go through it. No, narrow is narrow, narrow is small, narrow is a path that you go through that you won't be, you won't feel it won't be it won't be hard, it will be hard for you to go through, it will be difficult for you to go through. But the broad way is not difficult because it's wide, so it's not difficult for anyone to go through. Narrow path is a path that you find trials and tribulation, you find heaviness, you find grievances, you find a lot through that narrow path. But he said, go through the narrow path. So we'll move on. Second part will be the book of Matthew, chapter 5. We'll read from 1 up to the 5. Verse 5, I read is, and seeing the multitude, he went up into a mountain, and when he was sat, his disciple came unto him too, and he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. For blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. 5, I'll add the 5 to it. Blessed are they the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. So we have the first part and second part, or read the first and second. So realize that Matthew chapter 15, as we read, we have the understanding, being the 21 up to the 28, that the message was not only, though it was only for the Hebrew Israelites, but a Gentile received his blessing. And here, Matthew chapter 5, we read 1 up to the 5. You can continue reading if you have time. You realize that he is talking to what his disciples, being the Hebrews or being the descendants of Jacob. And Matthew chapter 15, he's what? The message is for what? Only the descendants of what? Jacob. But anyone that hears, obedient ear, hears it and receive it and believe it, you will receive that blessing. So that is the reason why I said the message is for us. But anyone that hears it, you'll be blessed. So let's move on to the main message, or the key point of the message today. Narrow path, narrow path, narrow path. That will be the book of Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 through 14. But before we read the main path or the main message of the today's teachings, we have another picture on the screen right now. We read a lot about the Canaanite woman, being the Matthew chapter 15. Now we have the picture showing who are the descendants of Jacob, who are the children of Israel, or who are the Hebrews that scattered abroad. Then we have the picture back then in Egypt. These are the people, our forefathers and our foremothers. This is what we have on the screen right now. That they were in Egypt once upon a time. It was not a story, a fake story. It was a rare saying or a rare story. That's what we have on the screen right now. Let's move on. I am excited. And another picture on the screen right now. These are our forefathers and our foremothers when they took them from their land, being the land of Canaan, being the northeast of Africa, took them through slave trade. They went to what? Babylonian empire, capturing them. So you can see the Babylonian soldiers are behind them, and our forefathers are in front of them when they captured them. So we can see. And boy, then from the Egypt to the Babylonian captivities, the appearance does not change. The hair, the nappy hair, the afro, the beard, nothing changes. So that's what we have on the screen right now. Then let's move on. Maybe one will be wondering, again, we have the Egypt, we have the Babylonian and all that. Again, we have to see where the geographical location, where were they locating then, before they were spread abroad. So we have the next map on the screen right now. We have two maps putting together. The map of Canaan, or the land of Canaan, being Israel. Then the map of African, including the Americans. We put those two maps together. So the map of Canaan, or the Canaanite map, will be on the right side on the screen right now. And we have the 12 tribe chart, or their map, or their land shading. We have the green one, the yellow, different colors and all that. So we have Judah, Simeon, Dan, Ephraim, Benjamin, Reuben, Manasseh, Gad, and we have Issachar, Zebulun, then we have Asher, then Naphtali. So we have all 12 being our descendants' land on the screen that we can see. Then on the left side on the screen, we put the same two maps together. When they took them from the western part of Africa through the transatlantic slave trade, and where they took them, four corners of the planet Earth. That's what we have on the screen right now. Let's move on. So the narrow path. We have one picture on the screen right now showing a very narrow path. It looks like a cave, but I like this very picture because you can tell how narrow this path is. It look like, or it is. So it won't be easy for one to go through it. It will be very difficult for one. It doesn't matter you are skinny or you are fat. It won't be easy for one to go through it. Even on left and right, being the walls, it's rough. So even if you are skinny, there won't be easy way of going through it without you having like shoulder to shoulder, scratching yourself around the walls. This tells us how narrow path. It's hard for anyone to go through the narrow path. At the look of this very picture, it won't be easy. So let's read it as we have the picture on the screen right now. And I read Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 to 14. It says, enter ye in at the straight gates, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Many are the people who go through it. So the narrow path, that will be the 14. Say, because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way which leadeth into life, and few that be that found it. Very few of people that found it. Very few. We have another picture on the screen right now. And this very particular one is showing, it's a wide path and narrow path. And narrow path will be on the right and wide path will be on the left. Matthew chapter 7, 13 through 14. So what's the difference between the narrow and the broad or the wider path? Narrow is very tiny, it's very small, and the wide is big. It will be easy for anyone that go through it. But the word of the Most High, Yah Elohim, the word of Yeshua is saying that many that are the people who go through the broader way or broader path, but fewer are the people who go through the narrow path. Realize that Yeshua sat on the book of Matthew chapter 5, start teaching, start sharing the message of the good news, start sharing the good news, the message of life, that anyone that hear it, you will find yourself in life, or you will believe. This is what Yeshua is doing. So it continue teachings up to Matthew chapter 6 and Matthew chapter 7. And he was teaching to what? The Hebrews, Israelites. He was teaching to what? The people of Jacob. He sat and teach. It doesn't mean that a Gentile will not come across and sat. But he said, Matthew chapter 15, verse chapter 15, verse 24. It says, he came only to the lordship of the house of Israel. So here, the message tells us clearly, as he's showing us the narrow path, he's talking to Hebrew Israelites. But any Gentile that hears, you'll be saved. So he wants us to be saved. So let's go on with the narrow path. Let's move on. We have a picture showing who are the, now we find the land, we find the biblical people then being the Egyptian time when people or our forefathers were living there, and we saw the Babylonian. Don't mind, I'm so excited. Babylonian time when people, they took them. Now, modern day, these are the people of Israel, or the Hebrew Israelites. So we have the pictures, 5 pictures putting together. These are the people. Some are worshiping, some are celebrating or doing feast day and all that. They are the descendants of Jacob. We have another one on the screen right now. Again, some are in their classes like youth and all that. They are the descendants of Jacob. These are the descendants of Jacob. And we have another one on the screen right now. Again, we have some even playing football. We did bring these pictures to show, to let us know, to refresh our memory. When you talk about the descendants of Jacob, we have to know geographical location and the appearance, how they look like. Again, it doesn't mean you don't know, you do. But again, that helps the teachings too. So, pardon me. This what we have on the screen right now, the descendants of Jacob, they are the chosen people. They are the scattered people that was scattered 4 corners of the planet Earth. They are the people that Yeshua pleading, calling them, sounding the alarm, blowing the trumpet for them to come back to him, for them to come back to the feast day, for them to come back to the celebration of the Sabbath, for them to come back for the celebration of worshiping the Creator, worshiping Yah, worshiping the Father, worshiping him the way he intended for us to worship him. It's very, very important for us to have the understanding of worship, for us to have the understanding of worship. So as we are continuing the teachings, narrow path, no one will go through the narrow path, and he or she will say it is very, very easy to go through narrow path. Then you don't go through narrow path. Narrow path, there's thorn in the narrow path. Narrow path, there's fear in the narrow path. Narrow path, there's difficulty in narrow path, sorrow in narrow path. Narrow path, there's strife and tribulation in narrow path. But brother, just go through it, then you are done. Boom, does it capish? There's no sorrow. But he said we have to go through narrow path. Yeshua went through narrow path. He is God's son. He is the Father. He said, when you see my Father, you have seen me. You have to go through me to see the Father. So it will be easy for Yeshua to snatch the cross in his fingertip and just broke everything down. He can blow and win. For the soldiers, the Roman soldiers to fall down, everyone would strike dead. He can call earthquake to crush the ground and people will be buried. Then he saved us. But no, he didn't do that. He carried the cross and he was lashed 40 lashes. And the lashes that is not just a cane or a whip, but each one have angle, like a tie or like a knob in the middle. So when they lash him, that knob even can scratch you to rip your skin. But he went through it. That he went through the narrow path. He went through the narrow way. That's the straight gate. But that lead to life. Through it, he have life. Through it, we can see and emulate him. So he went through the narrow path. We have to go through the narrow path. When you announce that you have accepted Yeshua Mashiach as your Lord and personal Savior, it's not easy. It's not easy. Even your family, your peers will reject you. But this is what the message of Yeshua is saying. Hebrew Israelites, you go through the narrow path. He said one have to go through the narrow path. And when you go through the narrow path, you will see him. And I'll take it again. I'll read it again. He said, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which lead into life, and fewer there be that find it. Are you among the people that have found it? He said, few people That are the people who found it. Let's move on. We have another picture on the screen right now. And this very one, we have 4 pictures put it together. That'll be the prayer shawl and a garment. Our appearance does not determine that we are going through the narrow path. We can dress like this with the fringes, and even wearing the prayer shawl. This does not change anything. This does not mean that we are going through the narrow path. The narrow path will determine by our deeds, by what the relationship that we have with Yeshua. That we keep the Sabbath day, we keep the law, and we keep the will of the Most High. So dressing at our outward appearance does not determine that we are going through the narrow path. Say broad is the gate. So we have to. So the broad gate lead to internal damnation. It lead to death. We would die. But when we go through the narrow path, narrow way, it lead to life. Remember, he went through the narrow path and he's living. Because he lived, we can face tomorrow because he lived. All fear have to disappear. Because he lived, we have what? Something that we have to look for. We have another picture on the screen right now. This picture will be one of our elders studying the message of Torah. Even we can see a menorah on the left on the screen, like in front of the table that he is sitting. Again, it doesn't matter. We light the menorah candle. We have the feast day, or we celebrate all the days. It doesn't mean that we are going through the narrow path. Narrow is the way, and we know how we can go through the narrow path by asking Yeshua HaMashiach, or asking the Ruach Kadesh. He will lead us to go through the narrow path. It's very difficult. Like when we reach a point that certain places you have to pay your way to earn something. That's no narrow path. Refuse to pay your way and let Yeshua lead you. Refuse. We are in the world, this planet Earth, and it's full of what? Mess. But when we put our foot down, that we will go through the narrow path, he will lead us. He will never fail us or not forsake us. We have the last picture on the screen right now. 3 pictures putting together. The one on the top, it says street is the gates. The one on the bottom, again, you see narrow is the way. So the one on the left, you can see, say, broad is the way that lead to destruction. Broad is the way that lead to destruction. If one is going through broad way, let's be very careful. Let's re-examine ourselves. Let's check our foundation. It's not too late. Do not wait for too late, because none know when the trumpet will sound. I pray that each day, any wrongdoing I will do, may Yahweh or may the Ruach Kadesh chastise me or prompt me, punish me, wake me up, like remind me of my wrongdoing for me to turn around. I pray this will be perfect prayer that one can pray, and this will help us each and every day. I pray. I'll end here with today's teachings. I pray that you've been blessed with the unique message of what broad is the way and narrow is the path. I pray that you've been blessed. As we did separated 3 parts, we realize that though Yeshua, Matthew chapter 15, he was preaching, or he was sharing a message with his disciples, and a Gentile came in, but the Gentile, she became blessed. And Matthew chapter 5, we realize that again, as he sat down teaching or talking to his disciples, blessing them and all that, then we have the understanding that the message directing to his disciples, being the descendant of Jacob, continue of chapter 6, continue of chapter 7. Then realize that chapter 7 is into deep advice for one to have a salvation. That will be the narrow way. For one to what? Have a righteous living. For one to what? Have a right in the kingdom of heaven. So we have to go through the narrow path. He went through the narrow path. Yeshua HaMashiach, that we adore, that we worship, he went through the narrow path. Let's remember this. He went through the narrow path. The narrow, he went through it. So we have to be able to go through the narrow path with the help of our Ruha. When we ask, he say, ask, knock, and the door will be open to you. Seek that you shall find. Keep on knocking, keep on knocking. Ask and it will be given unto you. So let's move on. We are done with today's messages. Let's read the book of the word of the day. It says, seek the Father, seek the Father. Lamentation chapter 3, verse 22 to 23. It says, it is of the Lord mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassion fail not. They are new every morning. Great is the faithfulness of the Father. Great is the faithfulness of Yahweh. May Yahweh keep you and bless you. I am so grateful for everyone that watches my videos and subscribe to my channels. Thank you so much for sharing the videos. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. In Yeshua's name, shalom everyone. Bye-bye.